Hello and welcome back to the SGN YouTube channel. I'm your host Ryan. Today we're playing Dwerg Saga and I'm joined by a very special guest today.
Hi, my name's Jock. I'm the creator of Dwerg Saga, a game largely inspired by Dwarf Fortress.
We've just started a new world and we're kind of just setting out. So what do you think we should start off by doing here, Jock?
Make a home for your dwergs is kind of the first step. So dwergs, like dwarves, like to live in the side of hills or mountains. So if you scroll to the left, you can see, or if you zoom out, there is quite a lot of land all around. And although it's a 2D game, it is a 3D world that you're looking at. So you can see it from an elevation or a plan view. And you can go up and down in levels with the bar at the side, and to go vertically. So that's going up, and then E should take you down. Yeah. So that's a difficult concept to actually get people to understand.
Yeah, like
presenting a 3D world in a 2D thing.
I have to admit, I didn't realize that when I first started playing. I was a wee bit thrown by it. I was like, oh, okay, so like, when I saw I could build stairs, I was thinking like, how does that work then? Because obviously everything looks 2D, and then the tutorial goes through that you've got your elevation views, and you can look through different levels. So I'm just starting to dig out a wee home here. Let's zoom in a wee bit, and I think we'll dig out that. Now, like I was saying before the call, I only played the tiniest amount of this game to try and sort of stay fresh for this, so I didn't sort of just go and do everything I just learned in the tutorial. So any advice you have, I will definitely take.
Sure. Again, there's not really. It's still, at this stage, it's still kind of a sandbox. Like, there aren't really any threats other than you drowning your dwergs. So if you just kind of imagine you're building a home for them to live in, then you're thinking like, okay, each one needs a bedroom, or maybe you start and you just put them all in one room to sleep in. Not that there are actually any beds yet, but that's kind of, if you can imagine like The Sims, but instead of getting each like entire pieces, you're kind of carving out the world, block by block. Yeah.
So Sims meets Dwarf Fortress, and you get Dwerg.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm just mining out this stage here. Should we focus on getting lower instead of wider, or is it kind of just the design choice?
You can drag to select more than one square at a time if you want to.
Oh. So if now that's handy. Yeah. That's not something I picked up. We're just gonna get all the lads down here, and they're all gonna start working on digging out a wee home. So this looks like it's water here, so we don't want to dig into that, because then that'll flood that and drown the 3 dwerg that are down here, yeah?
Yes, that's correct.
Right, I mean, we don't want 3 deaths on our hands this early on a Thursday morning. That's not a good idea. These boulders, are these just sort of the rocks left by mining? I'm just wanting to destroy these.
That's correct. They are just rocks left by mining. But yes, you've made an assumption that a lot of people make, which is that they are things that I can now mine.
So how are we getting rid of these, or are these just permanently here?
So you can make stockpiles. On the left-hand side here, tools down at the bottom, second from the bottom.
Oh yeah, stockpile.
Yeah. So you can, if you want to take them out onto the surface, then you can do that. And then you can, if you right-click on that, then you should be able to. So.
Okay, yeah. So we'll call it rubble. okay, and then...
So this is you deciding what items are actually going in there with those checkboxes. So if you hit none...
and then we'll just select rubble.
So no dwarves really start with the hauling responsibility. So if you hit the tab button...
Yep.
Then so this shows you the details of each of your dwarves.
Okay.
So the middle button above the one you're on now. So if you go along to the right there, you'll see responsibilities.
Yes, responsibilities.
And there's a hauler button. If you check that, so that person will start, as you can see, start moving stuff into the stop button.
Okay, so is that him doing that now, and we'll just leave him to do his thing?
If you click on him, you should see where he is.
Okay. Oh!
Yeah, he's decided to go all the way over there.
What a mad lad. Okay, sure.
You can follow him if you open that tab again. There's an eye icon on the right hand side.
So there is. Here we go. I feel like this is a game that like you won't fully understand until you've invested a decent amount of time into it. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, that's a reasonable assumption. I think there's wow, he seems to be picking up everything.
He's just like, he was told pick up rubble, and he's like, don't worry, I'll do that. Like, I'll make sure I get all the rubble in the land.
This is most definitely a bug.
Do you want me to stop him from doing that?
No, well, maybe.
Let's see how far it takes him, because I mean, bless his wee heart, he's really going for it. I'm getting sort of like, in a weird way, I'm getting Crusader Kings vibes, and I think it is just that sense of like, I'm looking at the menus and I'm going, there's so much here, and I'm going to learn, over time I know I'm going to learn what everything does and how to best organize it and make sure I do everything right.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a problem with the user interface itself. There's kind of an argument that the game should tell you everything so that you understand everything that's going on. As you can see, each dwerg has their own characteristics. So there's the kind of physical and mental and their senses, and then their skills and knowledge as well. So presenting all that information in a way that's meaningful is kind of difficult. It's a challenge.
You mentioned there's sort of like mental characteristics. Like the first thing you're sort of presented with when you start up a game of Dwerg Saga, something that I cut out here because I did it yesterday, is you're asked to do a personality quiz, and that determines the personality of your dwerg.
Yes, so that was when I was trying to model personality of the dwergs. I looked at a few different psychological models of personality and kind of settled on the Big Five theory of personality. So I realized that what this model gave me was people could take a test, or you could define a personality on 5 axes, and you would then have a point within within that space. But you can also, there's some research being done to kind of describe those personalities. So there are adjectives, if you like, within that 5-dimensional space, and you can say, okay, this person has these characteristics, and so we can describe them using these adjectives, which opens up possibilities around conversations that agents have. You can then describe how they speak to each other using those personalities. So, for example, if a character personality trait is, for example, meek, then when they ask for can you move out of the way? You can then describe. You can say they said it meekly, so it's distinct for that particular agent.
Everyone who plays Dwerg Saga will have a totally different clan with totally different characteristics, and like the group dynamic will be different every time.
Yes, although very little of that has actually been implemented as when you're talking about group dynamic. It's the conversation system is very rudimentary at the moment.
Yeah, this game seems like it's got an incredible amount of depth, and you mentioned your inspiration, like being Dwarf Fortress. How much of that game carried over into this, and how much of it did you sort of trim the fat on and change and evolve?
So a huge amount which I just skipped was the world generation, largely. It wasn't something I was particularly interested in, and it wasn't something that, as a player, you would really interact with a lot, and not until a large amount of the rest of the game had been made. So I kind of deprioritized that. The kind of evolutions, the changes are, well, a user interface that's not completely esoteric, I hope. Although there are certainly issues. And then a kind of multiplayer aspect to it. You can play at the moment you can play on a LAN, local area network, and I did develop a kind of cloud infrastructure so that you could, depending on where you were in the real world, you could launch the game and connect to a piece of land. But that's no one actually played that, so I thought maybe I'll just. It was costing money, so I took that down. Yeah, those are the two main kind of evolutions.
This game is still being developed on today, and you're you're updating like your changes primarily on LinkedIn. What are the plans for moving forward?
So I have a Patreon site, which, yeah, so primarily that's where I post to my Patreon site, and then also on LinkedIn and Twitter. But yeah, this so I've kind of run out of money. I funded this by just with my own savings, and the Patreon campaign hasn't really worked out. So I'm just kind of starting contracting work this month, which will give me about 6 months work, and then after that I should be able to work on this again full time.
What challenges have you faced in sort of like designing this game? Because it is incredibly ambitious, especially for like a one-man team. Like, what have you encountered that's sort of blocked your path?
So speaking to the size of the project, I anticipated that it is going to be a long project. It's going to be very large. So one of my challenges is to create a set of tests around the functionality of the game to ensure that when I add new features, it doesn't break existing features. So that's been a challenge to maintain that set of tests, but it has also been rewarding in that I have, those tests have found bugs, many bugs earlier than I would otherwise have found them. The other challenge is, I guess, learning about AWS. That's been really interesting because it's an area that I didn't know much about. So that's been fun.
So what would your sales pitch for Dwerg be for people who have never heard of it? Like, what would you say to get them on board and get them interested in this project?
Yeah, I cite it's a game like, if you can imagine Minecraft mixed with The Sims. You grow to love your dwergs, your clan. You kind of make them, build them a home, and then take them out into the world and find adventure and make find resources and bring them back to your home.
So their losses become your losses, and their victories become your victories as you come closer to them and become sort of attached to them as you spend more time with them.
Yes, I mean that's very much the experience of Dwarf Fortress, is that you're playing along and then suddenly something traumatic happens and you're like, oh wow, this really hit me.
Yeah.
More than expected.
That's Dwerg Saga. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Jock, do you want to promote anything while you're here?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Haiku Interactive without an E. On Patreon, it's patreon.com/Dwerg Saga.
So that was Dwerg Saga. Thank you very much, Jock, for joining us. Now, if you want to stay up to date with the game, then we'll leave a link to the demo as well as Jock's Patreon and Twitter in the description below. Now, of course, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, then hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with the channel. Hit the like button, it really helps us out a lot. And as always, I've been your host Ryan, this has been SGN TV, you've been awesome, and we'll see you next time.